Religion might not cause it, but I feel it fails to provide solutions. There's no special place for you in heaven if you die because someone killed you, especially if you can see. Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Grace. If you're new here, this is the Musings forum. We talk about everything and anything about life, and we have very candid discussions about things that are not necessarily mainstream. So if you're new here, thank you for clicking to this video, and let's just get right into the discussion. If you're a returning subscriber, you are the best. Just continue staying here, and thank you so much for the support. If you've not subscribed, I think you should. Maybe you will go back and watch a little videos that we had done earlier, and then you will see that you need to be here. And I have noticed many of you actually who watch my videos, I think almost 70% are people who are not subscribed. When you subscribe, it just means you are just part of this community, part of this YouTube channel, and when you upload another video subsequent times, you're notified. It's just that, and it's free. So subscribe. We're talking about divorce and the religion response to that. This video might not necessarily be like explaining what divorce is and why is it that you should or should not get a divorce. It is just my thoughts and thoughts that I've collected over time. I have had these discussions before with people that are in my circles. So this is just a collection of thoughts and what I think about them, especially some heartbreaking thoughts about people saying that you should stay in a place where it's abusive because God says so, or because the Bible says so. And then I'm just like, what kind of a God is it that you're serving, you know? So I would have done this earlier. God knows I would, but I am just shooting this video at the edge of when I'm almost posting it, because it is triggering, because it is hard, because it is, even for me, it is doing things to me, it is doing things to my psyche, because it is, especially for me, what I'm struggling with is the thoughts and the beliefs of people and the interpretation of the Bible, especially how people interpret it. That's what is really I'm really struggling with. But of course, I'm also struggling with the fact that there are people who think that they don't have options to leave abusive marriages, and I am deliberately saying people because I don't want to say women, because there are wives who abuse their husbands, so it's not always on one gender. I know I might be speaking from a point of privilege, and when I'm saying a point of privilege, it's, of course, I am not in an abusive marriage, I'm not in an abusive relationship. I might not have seen any. Here and there I've seen pockets of abuse here and there, and maybe because I was shielded from it when growing up and even people around me, but I know it's there. I've experienced it at a close range. I have seen it. So what I'm saying is I might not have experienced it firsthand, and maybe you'll be like, you might not know what you're talking about. So if I say things that are not necessarily the authentic thing, or if it triggers you in a different way, feel free to comment or to talk to us, because just know it's not intentional to bash you or anything. It's just me expressing my thoughts on what I think about the issue, and from the discussions that I've had. So of course you might have known that much of discussion has come up due to the death of the famous singer. I'll put her name here, or a picture, and in West Africa, and she allegedly died in the hands of her husband, and she was in an abusive marriage. So I think the question is, how is it that she is serving in church and she's going through this, and how is it that there weren't solutions for her to solve it, or how is it that she didn't leave the marriage, if what discussions are online are to go by, because I have not verified them. But of course, these are things that happen. We know that people suffer in abusive marriages, in abusive relationships. So the most heartbreaking thing I've said, it's the thoughts that people have, and my question is how is it that a religion can supposedly cause so much damage in the minds of people such that they are not able to reason well? Because I believe this is a case of lack of reason. Because I have had discussions or I have had comments of things like, oh, I mean, you should, if your husband or your wife is abusing you, you should suffer because the Bible says because of what the Bible says about suffering. It's part of afflictions. The Bible says the afflictions of the righteous are many, but God shall deliver. I believe that's wrong, and I believe that if you are in an abusive marriage, whether you are a Christian or a professing bishop or not, even if you are a heathen, you should leave. This is because I believe there is no special place for you in heaven if you die because someone killed you, especially if you can see, literally you know that this person, because most of these things they tell you, they'll be like, I'm going to kill you, or today I'll beat you up. If you continue staying in such a situation, according to me, or what I believe and my opinion is, you are courting death. I don't, it's almost you wishing it on yourself. I know that's very controversial because you'll be like, oh, maybe you don't have options, you don't have a choice, but I believe you not making a choice, it's a choice by itself. You not making a decision to live, it's a decision by itself. So you do not lack decisions, you do not lack options, you just choose an option to stay, which is an option as well. I believe that there is no point of you staying in marriage believing that you are suffering for the Lord. No, I believe you have a responsibility to your life. The life that God entrusted you with, it's more important. It is more important than you showing allegiance to a religion, allegiance to God in suffering that you almost wishing on yourself. You have a bigger responsibility to guard your life. The life that God gave you, you need to guard it. By the time someone is threatening you and telling you that I'm going to kill you, and you continue staying there saying you don't have an option, I believe you have options. And I'm just gonna say that God's intention for marriage is that it's right. Actually, it's the most basic unit, and in so many ways God compares marriage to his kingdom. That's why the thing about the church being the bride, and then of course Christ being the head of the church, and that being compared to the husband and stuff like that. So how is it that now Jesus Christ is abusing the church? That's just, does it mean now that because now you believe that the suffering that you're suffering in church, or the suffering you're suffering in marriage is it's I don't know, is it a holy kind of a suffering? I don't know. You believe that you will get some special favor or some special awards when you go to heaven. So does that mean that also the suffering the church goes through, or the things that we go through as church, now it's Christ causing them, even though the Bible itself says that God does not put anyone to test? Do you see where I'm going with this? So if you really believe that the illustration of the church is that of the marriage, how is it that now you're encouraging, or you believe that you should stay in a marriage where you're abusive because the Bible does not outrightly say you leave? I don't understand. And so for me, because I'm a woman, I'm going to just speak because I said I'm not giving prescriptions. I'm not even saying what is it that you should be doing or you should not be doing. I'm just here to express and to just poke conversations and ask questions that I hopefully we can continue to discuss even at a later time. Even if you're running into this video way later, please feel free to just comment on it. So I would like to just think what I think really, apart from of course the fact that we have been brainwashed and obsessed with religions in our heads, such that we believe that we don't have options, such that we believe tragic things like you have to die in a marriage or in the hands of an abuser. I want to speak just a few points to women, especially because I am one. And one thing that I believe actually might perpetrate gender-based violence, and because of things that we have believed and options that we have not taken. Number one, I think there's a place for a woman. We need to sit back and find worth in ourselves other than attaching ourselves to anything. The reason why I'm saying this is because I have had women who say things like, I can't live because of the children. Where will the children go, And things like, what does that make me? I will be a bad mother. Now, the fact that you are a mother, that's not your whole identity. You are a person, first and foremost, before you are a mother. When you go to heaven, I believe the name in the book is not written Mama Grace or Mother to Grace. It's written your name. So you have a responsibility for yourself, and you need to see yourself as a person other than as a person who is. So you are not a mother, you are not just a wife, you are not just a sister. You should find your worth in yourself. Like, you are Grace, I am Grace. And so where do I stand? What is my stand in that? What decisions do I make for Grace? Not what decision do I make to make me good in the eyes of my husband, in the eyes of my kids, in the eyes of society. I don't know whether you get it. So find ways in which because women will be like, as women, we have to do things for the sake of the society. We have to put out this perfect picture, which is not for us really. It's in relation of the things that are around us, of the people that are around us. What will people think about me? I'm a wife. What will my husband think about me? What will my children think about me? They will say I am not a virtuous woman. You'll say I am not doing my things well. We so constantly compare and put and peg our worth in other people, such that we continue to stay in places because we need to present this picture about how we are. And I believe it's the high time, even as a society, we stop judging women, we stop looking at women based on who they are. I feel like there's so much responsibility for us to perform, for a woman to perform in so many roles. You have to be perfect in so many ways, so that now, even if when you feel, or when it gets to a point where you definitely need to leave, you can't, because you feel like, and you have socialized yourself your whole life, that your life revolves around people close to you, revolves around you being a good mom, a good grandma, a good woman, a good pastor's wife. So I believe it's even worse for people who serve in church. People are like, oh my God, like I need to show an example. But an example of what? You need to be authentic. If there is anything and anywhere that you need to be authentic, it's in that expression of your faith. Such that if there's things that are questionable in it, you need to be able to speak about them. You need to be able to authentically ask yourself, why is it that these things are happening, and what should you do? Not hiding the fact that you need to show this perfect face and preach something different. I know you get my point. So your worth is not found in people. We need even to introduce ourselves. Do you know there are women who don't even introduce themselves by their name? You ask, so in a professional setting, what's your name? My name is Mama Grace. No, your name is not Mama Grace. Your name is your name. My name is Mrs. So and so. No, your name is your name. If your name is Grace, your name is Grace. It's not Mrs. or Uma. It is your name. And what this thing does to you, and your name is not also Mama Kevin or Mama Grace. What this does to you is, you, even in your subconsciously, you peg yourself to people. You peg yourself to situations in the society that pegs you there, so that now if you are Mama Kevin, it means that there are so many decisions that you're making around that are not for you. And it's a subconscious thing. Don't see how it affects you, but it actually does. We are so obsessed with being the best that we can, we forget to be the best at life that God gave us. So, on the question of whether religion causes divorce, religion might not cause divorce, might not prescribe divorce, but I feel like there is so much silence on it. There is so much silence on what should happen, especially in cases where it really necessitates divorce. In cases whereby there is abuse and outrightly the option is to leave, I feel like the Bible, first of all, is silent unless someone knows a verse that solves that equation. And please, let it not be the thing that I have heard people say, oh, you should endure suffering. I believe you should not endure suffering. I believe there needs to be other ways for you to be helped. Because saying you endure suffering and then you die, I don't think that's not the solution. Even if you don't die, if you are going to profess that you are a Christian and you are in a marriage that is sadly abusive, that's not the representation of the coexistence. That's not the God's original idea of marriage. Marriage has its troubles. Marriage, of course, has disagreements. It has its issues. So is life. But I believe emotional abuse or whatever kind of abuse, physical abuse, I believe it's not part of it. I believe that's something that needs to be addressed. So religion might not cause it, but I feel it fails to provide solutions. And I will say two things. Number one is how many churches have spoken outrightly about divorce, and not in the quoting the verse where it says that you should not divorce, and finding ways to circumnavigate around abuse, like what we have had happened to the departed lady. If this is true, it was alleged that she was the people in church, I don't want to say pastors, people in church kept encouraging her to persevere in the Lord until it got to a point where she dies in the hands of her abuser. I want to ask, what is the support does church give? Does it give proper platforms for people to be able to come out and actually admit that they are struggling in marriages? From my experience, and there are churches that are actually coming up with ministries to support and that take care of people who are going separation, divorce, or people who are in abuse and are contemplating separating or leaving, divorcing their spouses. But this is just a small number of people, and I know it's not welcome, especially in conservative churches and conservative movements. But my question is, what solutions do you offer if you're not going to give people a chance to speak about these things, or even care, encouragement, and whatever it is that happens in divorce care or in separation care ministries? If you're not offering that, what are you saying? What are you offering to people? And because you should not be oblivious of the fact that there are people in your congregation that are suffering. So what options are there? It has gotten so bad such that people who want to leave their marriage, or people who leave marriages, there is so much stigma in the church that they are not able to even continue being in church. There are those who have been able to continue because of the support that they have received, but there are people who it forces them to leave. Especially if you're going to give people advice or be like, no, just continue staying there. I encourage you to stay there. You suffer in the Lord. Suffer in the Lord to a point where it causes you so much pain until you're just like, why? How is it that this is the illustration of how a marriage should be? How a Christian marriage should be? So my question is, what are these platforms in church that we are encouraging or that you are putting so that people are able to come out and say these things outrightly? Number two, what is it that church has done in terms of curbing or in terms of stopping the stigma? Again, this is a point of discussion. How is it that when you're divorced, you're just seen as an outcast and you are not allowed to serve in some ministries? You are not allowed to fully express yourself. You can't be a leader in church. I don't know. And this is another discussion that I would like us to have, and I feel like this is what causes people to stop saying what they are going through until someone continues to pretend, or someone even dies and it perpetrates this gender-based violence. Because if you're going to be an outcast, let's say I was this prominent person in church and then I start having issues. In most cases, I might not be able to speak about it if I want to continue serving the Lord. If I want to continue having this position in church, or even if I continue want to having people thinking highly of me, if I need my ratings as a person, if they have to continue being the way they were, then I cannot speak about contemplating divorce or saying that the person is abusing me. It's even worse if you are reporting a man or a partner who serves in church. Because, we have seen what happens with victims, even outside church. You're told, that brother cannot do that to you, you are lying, or you are the issue, or you need to check yourself. So whenever you doubt a victim, whenever we put this culture of discrediting whatever the victim is saying, then they as well, many of them will tell you, then you as well not share about it. And we now want to shield. There is also this view of shielding the man of God from. I read an heartbreaking story of a situation whereby someone was raped by their pastor. Now, I know this is maybe a very small percentage of what's you know as a person or what you've heard, but I want to believe beyond a reasonable doubt that this is happening a lot. There's a way we are protecting the people of God, the men or women of God, such that when they do things to you, even in a situation of a marriage, we are not able to speak about it because we want to shield their image. I feel like there's a responsibility that lies to the church there that needs to offer direction to its congregants, to people that follow the religion, to people that are coming there to find solace, to find Christ. They need to find Christ in all their lives. It's not only going to heaven, they need to find Christ in their lives. And the stigma in church, the judgment in church, and the image protection in church, especially on the issue of contemplating separation and divorce, and even those who go ahead and do it, then you become an outcast. So what options are people left with? So if you've watched this video up to here, I will just ask the question. So from what you've read, or from the discussion, from your thoughts, from what we have covered here, does religion cause divorce? Does it? I would like to know what you think. I've opened up the discussion. And surprisingly, I'm going to end this video here and wait for you to think about it and respond, and share this video if you can. And if you have not subscribed, also subscribe, and let's continue discussing. See you soon in the next video, and let's continue talking about these things.